color balance or anything?
I'm rolling.
All right, 40.2, bam, bam. All right, so I went upstairs, I read about, turns out his name is William Douglas Campbell. He's a lobbyist who's done some work for the CIA and the FBI, and his testimony has been thrown out in an unrelated case because it wasn't reliable, and the Clinton thing, the hearings are gonna have to move. I think it's another one of those wait and see things, because according to other sources and the stuff I read, Campbell wasn't in a position to know exactly. He said some people, the Russians bragged, saying that they'd paid a lobbying company $3 million to go to work on like the Clinton Global Initiative and da-da-da, so it's like a couple generations removed, and so it's not like they directly bribed the Clintons, except Bill Clinton got a $500,000 speaking fee from, I think, Roscam, the uranium company, at some point in like 2010. So the deal with, like everything else, everything, as I like to say, is a turd. The truth is a turd. It's full of like too many details to understand easily, and depending on what your political leanings are, you either pick out the peanuts or you pick out the corn.
Except for you're certain that Trump is a racist and that he colluded with Russia. You're certain. We don't need any more evidence for that.
But I keep saying wait and see. I do think that the time when Mueller is going to have to indict somebody more is not nigh, but it gets closer. I don't think that he's going to indict 0 more people. But since you brought up Trump, you know, Trump, it's much easier to like Trump's policies, some of them, like tax cuts, if you're in favor of tax cuts, than to like Trump the man, I think. Because, like this week, 2 White House staffers had to quit because of allegations. Well, one guy is allegedly beat both his wives and a girlfriend, and that's Rob Porter. And then another guy, a White House speechwriter, allegedly put out a cigarette on a girlfriend's arm, or his wife's arm. And
you're a man of the world, Rick. Come on.
Well, here, I'll tell my story. In the 80s, from 1982 to 1984, I had a nice but angry, not nice, but I had an angry girlfriend who didn't exactly knock me around, but she did use physical aggression against me 4 times. And on May 1st, 1984, which was the last time I hit a woman, we were going up a flight of stairs, and she punched me hard in the butt because we were in Boulder, and I was going to go see a friend who was a girl in Denver. And she was under the mistaken impression, she admitted later, that I was going to Denver to have sex with this girl, which I was not. I was just going to see her because she was a friend. But she punched me in the butt because she thought I was going to Denver to sex up this girl. And I didn't know why she was so pissed, but I did know that she punched me hard in the butt, and this was the 4th time she'd done something like this. The 2nd or 3rd thing she did was one time we were leaving, I think, an Applebee's, or it could have been, it's a chain Hula Hands, and we had a to-go container that had French fries and half a sandwich in it, styrofoam to-go container, and we're crossing Arapahoe and 28th Street. And we were having an argument because I'd said, in the restaurant, I'd said, look at those 2 lesbians, which is a bad idea. You can't say that. But and then my girlfriend called me on it saying, how do you know they're gay? And because everything about them said that they were gay, and they were holding hands, and some of the flare on one of the girl's jacket indicated that she was gay, and I mentioned all these things, and the only reason I'd said, look at the girls, because one of the girls had one of the most interesting haircuts I'd ever seen, where her head was buzz cut in a spiral, kind of like those red and white mints you get in some restaurants, where some of it was just shaved down to the skin, and then there was buzz cut everywhere else in a multi-pronged spiral. And I just wanted to check out my girlfriend to see this interesting haircut. And I should have said, look at these two girls instead of these two lesbians. And then anyway, we were having a fight about whether they were lesbians or not. And so in the middle of Arapahoe, my girlfriend whips the to-go container at my head, and it was awesome because it exploded off my head. And you know how in movies these days, like at the moment of most interesting action, the camera slows down to give you more time to examine the effect? Well, it was like that. The to-go container bounced off my head, and the French fries created a sphere of French fries that was 6 feet or so in radius of just a French fry explosion. And even though I didn't like having a to-go container bounced off my head, I kind of loved what the French fries did. It was like a fireworks of French fries. But I was bummed about losing the half a sandwich. And also that my girlfriend was bouncing food off my head. But anyway, the time she punched me in the butt, we were going upstairs.
Wait a minute, you weren't just gonna take that.
I took it 3 times. The 4th time.
You let her get away with throwing French fries at your head? You didn't try to get even?
No, I just, no. But the 4th time, she punched me hard in the butt for a reason I didn't understand. And I snapped, and I moved my hand back. I didn't make a fist and go toonk. I moved my hand back and went pack to whatever was going to be behind me, which, since I was going up the stairs ahead of her, turned out to be under her eye, and my knuckle caught her under my left knuckle caught her under her right eye. Right eye, and left a pinkish mark that after a couple days turned it the tiniest bit yellow. And I apologized. She was super pissed. And then I immediately drove myself down to the police station and told them what happened so that I would be on record as to what the incident was.
Never confess.
And I went down there, this is 1984, and the cops just laughed at me. And they're like, yeah, get out of here. They knew me because my girlfriend and I were both bouncers at this bar where the cops went a lot. And they knew us, and they figured, bouncers with their rough and tumble lifestyle. Plus, they thought I was ridiculous. So, anyway, and then later on, I tried to, I felt bad about the whole thing. I felt bad about being I felt I was inadequately feminist, so I tried to become really feminist after the breakup that occurred, I don't know, a month or 2 later. And I tried to work at the battered women's shelter, and where I confessed again to having backhanded my girlfriend after she punched me in the butt. And so I didn't get hired there. It was really hard. It's harder for a guy to get hired at the battered women's shelter than it is for, a rich man to get into heaven, or a camel to pass through the eye of a needle.
What did they say when you confessed to them?
Well, they just said, no, you can't work here. They said, well, yeah, all right, we'll let you know. They said, no, you can't volunteer here because you responded to violence with violence. I'm like, all right, okay. But I haven't, so that was my history of violence.
All right. I was dating a karate expert.
Okay.
She was very small. She was a small girl, but extremely bad-tempered. And I can't tell you exactly what the fight was about, but things had gone badly in the bedroom. And somehow she decided that the best solution was to kill me. Was to take my life.
Not literally.
Yeah, no, literally. This is kind of irresponsible to put on YouTube, but if you give someone a karate chop right there, as hard as you can, they will die.
Why? Because you send a jet of blood into their brain or something?
Yeah, it kind of crushes the artery that's bringing the blood up.
You got a perfectly good artery on the other side.
I think you can do it with one shot.
Or a vein. It's the jugular vein, which I think is an artery or
Yeah,
something.
just one. That's all you need. And she drew back the 5 fingers of death. Now, not every experience, even with a god like me, in bed is going to be A+. You know what I'm saying? I don't think death should be the punishment. So she drew back the 5 fingers of death, and I knew what that meant. Because she was a karate expert, and she was very bad-tempered. And she drew back the chopping hand, and as it came down, the whole world went into slow motion. And I could see her little hand coming down on my jugular vein, and God was with me, and I managed to raise a block.
She was going to do this because the sex was so bad?
I'm not saying the sex was bad.
But she thought it was bad.
Someone in the room thought it was bad enough to kill me. So my point is, she reached over with the 5 fingers of death, aimed at the jugular vein. I fended it off. In the Klingon world, we would have been married. And we decided that it was time to break up. And that girl made the rest of my life in college a living hell.
Yeah, I mean, because I did kind of backhanded, but at the same time, it wasn't 100% inadvertent. There was, I don't know what percent split it would have been, but part of it was like, and part of it was like, fuck it, this keeps happening, and I've had enough of it, bam. So like, there's a mix. Your brain contains, more than one kind of personality, and it's a mix of inadvertent and kind of knowing what you're doing. So anyway, 2 people got fired from the White House for instances of partner assault that were much more serious than what we did. And then Trump got really whiny in a tweet, like, what happened to due process? That these guys had to quit without, the evidence being heard in some kind of forum, even though there's a picture of one of Rob Porter's wives with a nice shiner, taken on some trip they took to Italy where he decked her in Italy. And people are like, the debate in at least the liberal press is when, Trump tends to not defend the women and stuff like this. And couldn't he have just paid a little lip service to the victims, which he didn't do? And it's Trump just comes across as in the minds of liberals like me, as kind of being an a-hole.
Well, when you think about it, seriously, if my exes got together and decided they were going to ruin my career, they could come up with 100 things to say about me. And I would hope that
do any of them have pictures where you gave them a shiner? Did you give any of your exes a shiner?
No. But I almost got karate chopped in the neck. But the point is that I honestly believe that Trump's doing the right thing there, because I would hope that my employer if my ex came to my employer and said Lance was mean to me, and my employer fired me and then said, I'm sure Lance is a wife beater, I would think that was completely unfair, and I don't even think it's legal.
Well, but the deal is that the guy can't do his job because, based on the allegations, he wasn't able to be issued. The FBI refused to issue him a security clearance. That was the problem. In addition, that he kept punching women in the face.
Well, I don't know what the rules are. I would just hope that my employer would have an open mind about me. I mean, I realize the FBI might have certain rules, but I wouldn't want a friend of mine or someone that I've been doing good work for say, yeah, I'm sure the women are right. This guy Porter, fucking asshole. I hope he gets what he deserves.
Yeah, well, 3 women came forward, and 1 woman had photographic evidence.
Yeah, I mean, you could say it looks bad to me, but until this is all proven by a court of law, I really can't speculate.
Well, court of law for what? There's employment is not a court of law thing. You don't get due process in employment. Employment
is rid of him.
Yeah, but I mean, and you can. In Trump's entire career, 14 seasons of The Apprentice was telling people, yeah, you're fired. I know it's a different thing. It's TV, but like. You don't get due process at your job. If your boss decides that it's time for you to go, he or she can say, yeah, see ya.
If you're an at-will employee, yeah.
And most people are.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I would hope that my boss wouldn't add insult to injury if I've been doing a good job and say, these women said he did it, he must be a bad guy, fuck him.
It's beyond that, in that the FBI, in order to do his job, he needed FBI clearance. And the FBI said, we can't give him clearance based on these allegations. So Trump's been president now for 13 months, and the guy has never had clearance, even though he's been treated as if he had clearance. He saw some stuff that he should have been cleared to see, even though he wasn't.
I think that 3 women coming forward is bad. I don't think people should rush to judgment. If they don't have proof. Listen, I'm going to tell a brief story, okay?
Sure.
A friend of mine married this girl, and she didn't tell him that she'd been in and out of mental homes. And what she used to do was, whenever they had a fight about anything, she would call the police and say that he beat her. Sometimes she would hit herself to cause bruises. I swear to God, this is a true story.
Yeah.
And
all right.
The first couple of times, the police would come up and beat up my friend. The 3rd or 4th time, the police would come up and say, did you do anything? And he'd go, no. And they'd look at her, and she'd look at them. And then the 5th and 6th time, they began to realize that she'd been in and out of mental homes. And the 7th and 8th time, they said, you know what, we're not coming up this time.
Yeah, you know what, I'd use a mathematical argument. That Rob Porter is not the least lucky guy in the world who happened to marry 3 psychos or go out with 3 psychos. That I'd believe the women more than I'd believe Rob Porter.
Yeah, but I don't want my employer piling on.
Yeah, but in that case, it's the frickin' White House, and the guy couldn't get clearance from the FBI because the FBI said these allegations are too serious.
All right, so they let him go. What else are they supposed to do? Murder him? What are they supposed to do? What is
Trump's supposed to say, because Trump said he felt sorry. This guy's, I hope he has a great career, and he could have said something like, if he did happen to beat up his 2 wives and a girlfriend, as has been alleged, then I feel sorry for them.
Yeah, but I mean, isn't that taken for granted?
No, apparently not.
So
no.
you think that Trump's sitting there and thinking, yeah, he beat up 3 bitches. Good for them. I'm glad he did it.
No,
what do you think Trump thinks if he really did it? If Trump has proof that he beat up 3 women, you think Trump's happy about that?
But
Does he have to admit, I am against beating women? You won't be satisfied unless Trump gets up there and says, beating women is a wrong thing, and I am against it. And let it be said now that Rob Porter is an evildoer in my view, and that he shall be punished severely to the fullest extent of the law.
Well, no, but you don't say...
What's he supposed to say?
You're not supposed to say he's a great guy.
That's what he knew of him. He thought he was a great employee.
Yeah,
That's all he knows.
He knew he was a great employee, and then he heard that the guy, credible allegations that he beat up 3 women. So he could have said, you know, in my experience, I liked working with Rob. I thought he did a good job. But if he's a guy who beats up women, you know, maybe he's not that good a guy.
Well, why doesn't he just leave it up to the court to decide? That we do have a law system in this country that can figure that stuff out.
There's not employment court. There's not due process.
Well, no, there actually is court. If these people are being beaten, they should go to court and they should actually prove it in court.
Nobody pressed charges. I forget.
Well, why the hell didn't they press charges, God damn it?
I forget why, but the woman had a credible reason as to why she didn't. At least the one with the shiner. I don't know what... We can go into the sociology of why somebody who's been beaten may or may not press charges.
You know what? If she didn't press charges, then Trump was perfectly in the right for saying, we don't know what happened. He was a great guy to me, and that's the end of it.
If this shiner that there's this picture of came from him, then maybe he's not so great a guy.
If that
Trump comes off as
if that could be proven, I mean, okay, and you know what? Bill Clinton raped 3 women. They said it. So Bill Clinton's a rapist, and you wanted me to vote for his wife. Don't you think rape is bad, Rick? Aren't you against raping women? So when you voted for Hillary Clinton, you should have said, and I would just like to say that I, Rick Rosner, am against raping of women.
Yeah, why not?
So why'd you vote for Hillary?
Because Hillary isn't Bill.
She harbored a rapist in her house. Would you harbor a rapist in your house?
No.
Well, then you voted for somebody that harbored a felon. That was in favor of raping women. That was okay with it. How do you feel about that, Rick?
3 women accused Bill Clinton of rape.
And 3 women accused Rob Porter of hitting them.
Or you say 3 women, so... All right, maybe I'm not quite a hypocrite, but all right.
Next subject, please.
Let's say that Bill Clinton was rapey. He certainly boned a bunch of women while he was married to Hillary, and some of the women have said that it was without consent, which equals rape.
Tawana Brawley, Juanita Broderick.
Tawana Brawley is
and Paula Jones.
Tawana Brawley is the Al Sharpton girl. So, no.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. So it's Juanita Broderick,
Paula
Jones, and Kathleen Willey.
Okay.
All claim to have been raped or been sexually groped or had a penis shoved at them. Now.
All right, so I get to use this.
Since he did that, since Bill Clinton's a rapist, that means that everything you've said in the whole time we've been together has been pure hypocrisy.
No, because I get to use it was a different time thing.
Well, it was a different time when Rob Porter hit his girlfriend.
Well,
but he didn't rape a woman out of the blue. He wasn't a rapist. He punched her. According to you, a puncher should be exposed and castigated. Yeah. But Bill Clinton, you never had a word to say about him when he was raping women.
Well, when he was raping women...
Raping strange women he'd never met before.
When he was raping women...
Yes?
Assuming that he was... it was the 80s and 90s, and it was...
Rape was okay back then.
It was something like 25 years or 30 years before we started doing this show.
But I brought it up the first day we did this show. I said, how can you vote for the wife of a rapist? And you said, it's okay. I don't believe these women's allegations. But you believe the women's allegations against Rob Porter, and you expect me to, And Trump's got to be on his high horse about it. We all have to castigate Rob Porter, including Trump.
Yeah, he has to do some lip service.
And Clinton should do prison time.
No,
for being a rapist.
If it's substantiated, yeah.
And what if it's not substantiated against Rob Porter?
Maybe Hillary deserves criticism for not coming out against her own husband and for attempting to discredit the women that he assaulted. But again, it's a different time, and now
rape was okay 20 years ago.
Well, she was defending her husband, and it is a different time, and we are talking.
Rape was never okay, Rick. Rape it's against the rules of the Bible, written 3,000 years ago.
I'm not saying
you're not allowed to rape people. Clinton should be in jail.
Bill.
After all, Bill, yeah, because 3 women said so, and she was harboring a felon.
Well, we're talking about 2 things. We're talking about jail on the one hand and losing your job on the other because you can't get an FBI clearance.
Okay, so Clinton shouldn't have had an FBI clearance either, because what he did was worse. He didn't shove or punch his girlfriend. He raped 3 strangers.
I don't think that all that shit was worked through, and he settled with the women.
Why did he settle? Why did he give $800,000 to Paula Jones? You have $800,000 lying around?
Not so much.
So maybe he did it.
Maybe he did.
So I'm supposed to vote for a rapist wife? The wife of a rapist?
You don't have to.
No, I have to, because you have to vote for Trump. I have to vote for Clinton. That's the show we're doing.
Okay. So you have to vote for a guy who's been accused by 19 women of various levels of sexual assault.
21 and 19 were thrown out of court. There were 3 left, and one of them was offered $700,000 by the Clinton campaign.
All right. So, and I had to vote for a woman who defended her husband who was accused of rape and maybe settled in one of the cases.
Who was a rapist, by your estimation. Because we have to believe the women. If they say he raped them, he must have raped them. After all, these women must have been hit by Rob Porter.
No, the woman's got a shiner.
Think about that. You're voting for a woman who married a rapist. Isn't that sick? Isn't that disgusting?
No.
And you've got no problem with it at all. You'd shake Clinton's hand if you could. The hand he used to rape women. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you vote for Clinton against Trump?
Bill or Hillary?
Either.
I don't know if I vote for Bill anymore.
Didn't we just prove that Hillary took a bribe to give uranium to Russia?
No,
That's just an FBI informant, a deep cover surveillance.
An unreliable FBI informant who said that...
Wait, if he was so unreliable, why did they keep him on the payroll until 2016?
That's what you do with informants. Even informants aren't the best people in the world. And they threw out his testimony in an unrelated case.
So you believe that shit? It takes nothing. No, they gave, by the way, they paid him in 2010. That was his last check. You reach around for any excuse you can make, and you believe it. You believe it. The guy was deep cover for the FBI. He's now quoted to Congress.
Oh, so a guy who's getting paid by the FBI to give them stories, gives them stories. And his stories are found in other instances to be not credible.
Well, but I don't know what those stories are. All I know is that he worked
then go upstairs and read I did.
But my point is that the FBI never said his story was not credible. They paid him. They continued his employment for years.
You said the last time they paid him was 2010.
Yeah, but he worked at Rosatom for several years. Or he worked in the Russian uranium
Yeah, he was a
industry.
lobbyist for...
He worked in the industry. That was his cover.
And he said that.
So he was credible enough that the FBI never fired him. They didn't fire him. They didn't get rid of him.
Well, he wasn't an employee. He was a paid informant, which is a different thing.
No, that's worse. That's even more dangerous. He was undercover. He wasn't sitting in some office somewhere. He was risking his life. Putin kills people for what he did. And you don't believe him. All it takes is some little floated article, some Democrat somewhere on this planet saying, yeah, well, we don't believe everything he says, and you buy it. Look how brainwashed you are.
Because what he said
was...
was...
The tiniest little thing.
What he said is that the Roscom people paid a lobbying firm $3 million.
That they gave to the Clinton charities.
No, the $3 million...
They were going to use it for the Clintons.
They were going to use it to try to get in good with the Clintons.
The money was going to the Clintons, Rick.
No, not according to the article I read. No.
Yeah,
but you pick and choose your facts at least as you pick and choose your facts at least as much as I do.
Oh no! Listen, Rick. Here are my facts. Let the viewers decide.
No, let's not go around.
No. Very briefly. $140 million contributed to the Clinton Foundation by Russian oligarchs. Check for $500,000 for a speech given to Bill Clinton. $3 million given to a lobbying firm which wound up in the Clinton Foundation. And an FBI...
Not that part.
APCOM gave the money to the Clintons. APCO gave the money to the Clintons, and a perfectly credible FBI informant that went undercover risking his life has now spoken before Congress and said the reason all this money, millions of dollars, was going from Russian oligarchs to the Clintons is because they were getting bribed. Those are my facts. And wait. And then a month later, the uranium was given to Rosatom.
All right.
Your facts are...
No, you don't go to... Rick? All right. But you've cherry-picked out of a complicated situation.
Very complicated.
It is. And I got to say, go read up on Uranium One. I don't want to go into all this stuff. Just read. Have a computer that works faster than Lance's computer.
Yeah, don't worry about my computer. Give them the facts, Rick.
Read.
Inform America.
Read 2 articles on Uranium One.
Yeah.
And then read 8 more if you have the patience for it.
Don't evade, Rick. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Because you've cherry-picked...
Just the important things.
No, you've cherry-picked what the conservative media have told you are the most damning things out of the whole Uranium One deal. But I'm just saying, read the stuff. Don't listen to us. Don't take the facts from us. Read up. Go read about Uranium One.
Such an evasion. It's so pathetic.
It's not.
You're on your back and you've lost, Rick.
No.
Okay, I get to respond. Don't you dare cut me off. I get to respond. Money went to the Clintons, and Rick couldn't figure out why.
Well, obviously they were trying to... Well, hold on. No, you wait. Fucking... Yeah, of course Roscom is trying to influence people, but they were doing... That's what lobbyists do. The undercover informant, is a lobbyist. And he's reporting on lobbying efforts of various levels of ethics. Now, whether these lobbying efforts were full-on bribes or whether they were clumsy lobbying or whatever, yeah, lobbying went on. And Bill Clinton got paid $500,000 to make a speech by Roscom. These companies, these Russian oligarch companies, have shitloads of money, and they try to get what they want.